Mr. Hardacre and Mr. Hazelwood, can you come out and meet the strikers? They came out 10 minutes later, and we said to them in no uncertain terms, we want to be in the discussions with you. We do not want to be apart from the discussions what you're going to have with ACAS. So we actually attended the following day. We was in discussions with ACAS, was in discussions with the full-time officials, was in discussions with ACAS from about 8 o'clock in the morning up to about 9 o'clock on the night. And all they came out with, the bosses of Total and REM, was that they was prepared to give 40 jobs, 40 skilled jobs and 20 ancillary staff to, that was what they was prepared to give us. We rejected that and said that we wanted a one-for-one basis, and that was the bottom line, as well as other demands. What we put forward, and some of the demands was no victimisation of workers taking solidarity action, all workers in the UK to be covered by the NIKI agreement, union control, registering of unemployed and local skilled union members with nominating rights as work becomes available, government and employer investment in proper training, apprenticeships for the new generation of construction workers, and a fight for the future for young people. All immigrant labour to be unionised, trade union assistance for immigrant workers via interpreters to give the right of access to trade union advice, to promote active integrated trade union members, build links with construction trade unions on the continent. That was some of the demands we was putting forward. And when the discussions with ACAS finished, they said that it was a fixed term contract. They said that it was a fixed term contract, that they could not move from that position. We left that meeting. We said we would go back to the lads on the car park in the morning and tell them exactly what they'd been offered. In the meantime, unknown to us, a full-time official, apparently from the GMB, was in discussions with ACAS when we actually left that meeting, and some sort of deal was brokered behind the strike committee's back. And I was watching it in a service station where Derek Simpson was actually saying that he didn't know anything about that particular agreement, and I think he was putting the blame on the GMB official. So I was tucking into beans on toast and a cup of tea, watching behind me, something that I'd been involved in, and not knowing what was going on from them negotiations. But as far as when we went back and told the workforce, we went into discussions with Total, and we got a very, very favourable reaction from the American who runs Jacobs, who's the main contractor, and Total, the French manager. He actually thanked us for carrying out a very well-mannered strike outside of his workshop, and he was comparing it to what happens in France. And it was there's some very strange things going on. But as far as we was concerned, when they came across and said that we're prepared to give 100 workers, 100 jobs to local unemployed people, then we thought that, as well as some of the other demands of gaining access to the Italian workers, for the trade unions to discuss with the Italian workers when they come on site, that no Italian worker would be made redundant, because that was part of the core workforce of the Italian company, that there was 100 Italians coming on the job, and that we wanted access to those workers, to discuss with those workers, to find out exactly what this Italian company was giving them in terms of what we get as the national agreement. So we could discuss openly with those Italian workers and get the facts from their mouth about how they was being treated by that company. So that's, I think, just a flavour of what was going on at that particular stage. But I think we've got to look at the way forward, about after what I believe and what I believe the workforce believed after that strike, that it was a fantastic victory for working people. It was an absolute fantastic, I believe, historic moment for working people at this particular stage of where we're at in British society and the world system. And we're looking straight after that, straight after the strike, when they went back to work, it was immediately on the workers' lips, coming to the strike committee and says, what are we doing in other areas of this country? Are we going to send a delegation down to Staithorpe to protest? And when I actually reported back from from the National Shop Stewards Forum in Manchester, I must say quite openly that I was quite taken back by some of the comments from the full-time officials of Unite and the GMB, saying that they would support the guerrilla action. We can't come out openly and support this, otherwise the employers will use the anti-trade union legislation. I stood up and spoke that it's about time we challenged the anti-trade union legislation. This dispute, if nothing else, has shown quite clearly that the workers, if they believe in something strongly, then all the anti-trade union legislation was just swept aside like confetti. They wasn't interested in the laws. They was interested in defending the national agreement. They was interested in defending what they'd gained over 20 years of struggle. I think, comrades, we turned this dispute from where the media wanted it to go, down looking at a racist agenda, and through what I believe, what we put forward in that dispute, through the Socialist Party comrades getting involved in that dispute, through discussions with the Socialist Party, I think we had a clear agenda that we put forward during that strike, and it got a fantastic echo when I put it forward from the back of that van. There was overwhelming support because they understood what them demands was on a class issue and not on a racist issue. It was pure and simple class issues where they wanted to defend those. I think we've seen, and I think we should discuss some of the important lessons that came out of this dispute. That the trade union legislation was wiped and cleared out the way of workers taking action. But we should also look at what the full-time officials did in our unions. They used the anti-trade union legislation as an excuse not to support workers in action. They used that anti-trade union legislation as an excuse. They say that they would sequestrate the unions' funds. Can you imagine the unions getting sequestrated of their funds by a so-called Labour government? I believe that the union officials, they have been sequestrated. They've been sequestrated of the ideas of struggle, of the ideas of defending working class people. We have got to take on the lessons and build a fighting leadership on a local level and a national level. I believe that we won, but I believe we've got to build organisations locally, nationally and internationally with workers to defeat this rotten system that deprives us of a standard of living. Thank you.